How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I just got back from jujitsu myself, so a little sore, but good workout. Definitely a good workout.
This is our third episode. Damn, our third episode of
Third.
MMA Renegade.
Yes,
Gonna be,
sir.
gonna be covering UFC 242 and a little bit of Bellator. Did you
Right.
watch both?
I only watched the UFC card. I fell asleep last night after doing homework before I can get to the Bellator card. But from what I heard, it was a very interesting night on the Bellator circuit. I heard a lot of things went down apparently. So interested to see interested to hear your opinion about a lot of that.
A couple of brawls outside of a fight. Well,
That's not, that's a,
it's nothing out of ordinary. You're
is
a
that
working man now. You college boy.
Hey man, listen, I don't know, man. I'm just tired, man. I'm just tired and then I'm doing jujitsu. So that's all. That's all there is. What about you? How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Other than staying up all night watching all day, pretty much watching fights from the UFC 242 card and then to the Bellator card, and then doing notes for this show. Other
Yeah.
than that, pretty okay. Pretty okay.
Yeah. Other than that, other than just working and doing everything for the show, I'm fine. No.
Other than putting stats together and looking at
This is,
notes and stuff like that.
as I said, UFC. Hire this man. Hire this man. The dedication is there.
Not yet. Not yet. I'll be there. I'll be there. So, let's start. Let's start right away. It's
Perfect.
football. It's football day. It's Sunday, so I want to get this over as soon as I can.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right. Just for my other show, Play Action on Tuesday with Sergio and myself as well.
Nice.
Check that out as well. All right. And also, before we go any further, please subscribe, retweet, share it on social media, share amongst your friends. This is how we get by.
Share.
All right. So, UFC 242 is in the books. Khabib has beaten Dustin Poirier. Round 3.
Real naked.
Rear naked choke.
Man,
I don't know
oh
what to say,
man.
man. It's bittersweet because I wanted Dustin Poirier to win biasedly, I wanted Dustin Poirier to win.
Agreed. I was on that train too. I was rooting for Dustin.
It's hard not to, especially after the post fight. You see him after the post fight, and you just feel bad.
Yeah, that man was sad.
Yeah, but nonetheless, Khabib beats Dustin Poirier in pretty much a landslide of a fight.
Yeah.
Pretty much handled him throughout the whole entire thing, except for maybe a few moments in the second round. But pretty much it was all Khabib.
Pretty much, yeah. No, that was, dominated. Just we see this with every opponent Khabib goes against, just utter domination, and it's just so hard. It's just so hard to want Khabib to win because you see him doing so well. You see him doing it. These guys, you want to see if there's a guy who can beat him out there, and that's part of the reason. One of the reasons why I wanted to see if that's Poirier could do it. But I've been following Poirier since he was a 145er, and always thought he had the talent and he could put it together to fight for the championship belt. He got a belt. He beat Holloway for it, and he fought Khabib to unify the belt, and unfortunately, things did not go his way yesterday. So it's unfortunate. But hats off to two good fighters. Honestly, two of the top. These two will go down as some of the top. Best lightweight fighters of all time. So it's we get what we wanted as fans, but do we? I didn't get Poirier to win, so unfortunately, it sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. My thing about Khabib is there's two sides to him, right? There's the side of he's this guy that stands up for MMA and that he's a true martial artist and whatnot, and then there's a person behind the martial artist which has shown certain characteristic flaws and stuff like that I just can't get behind, like having poor black people do push up in the middle of a New York street, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's what we've talked about this before with fighters because fighters we only get to see snippets of their life, but when things like that surface, it's kind of hard to try to taint that image, or it's kind of hard to really stay away from that thought because we see them and then we automatically think about those bad situations that they've done or the things that they've done that can negatively impact certain people. So I agree. I remember when you first told me that, and I was like, no, he didn't, and then you showed me. I was like, oh my goodness, yes, he did. That can be taken one of two ways, though. Some people may say, well, he made the guy work for the money, or some people may say he disrespected the guy, a homeless man, by making him do what he did. So, it's all about perspective. Would I have done it? No, I would have probably just given the money anyway. But people are different. Do I condone that? I can't say I do, but he did give him the money at the end of the day, and I don't know. I don't know where we go with from that, but
He also did you know the Chechen dictator was there as well? You see that?
at UFC 244, I mean 242, really?
Yes, he was.
This man had the support. Oh man, I didn't know that.
No. Here's the thing about the Chechen dictator. He's a horrible human being, and
Oh,
yeah.
was not aware
So
of that. Was not
yes,
aware of that.
he's a horrible human being, and he's been linked to the association between him and Khabib and him and other fighters.
Yeah. A lot going on in that area, huh?
Makes me sick a little bit. Makes me sick to think that he was there. Just,
oh, we don't need the Chechenian prime minister. You said prime minister, you said?
Dictator.
Dictator, wow. Yeah, we don't need the Chechenian dictator coming up to our places of work and talking about where's this guy at. We're just sitting there and be like, wait, what?
I don't give a shit. So
that's why this is the man. This is the man.
So,
you heard it first.
So here's the thing.
Yes.
Khabib not only manhandled, Dustin Poirier and grappling, which we're gonna talk about. I think there's arguments to be made that he's the best MMA grappler of all time.
Of all time. Agreed. Agreed.
But just looking at the numbers and stats, so total strikes throughout 3 rounds, Khabib landed 8 out of 12 significant strikes in round 1. Dustin Poirier 2 of 6. Round 2, Khabib landed 13 of 26. Dustin landed 8 of 28. Round 3, Khabib landed 1 of 3. Dustin landed 2 of 5. Obviously, third round, Khabib finishes it off with a Renegade choke.
Didn't really get to go that full.
And one of my things we talked about before, off air, is that, what if it gets to the feet? If that's people on the feet, what happens? And we've seen flashes that in round 2, but for the most part, Khabib pretty much outlands a lot of his people he fights against.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting? When we say he outlands, a lot of people don't take into perspective where he's outlanding them. It's not just on the feet. It's actually while he's either he's already taken you down, or he's gotten you against the cage in a clinch, almost ready to take you down. He really doesn't really strike until he gets you down in a position that he's dominant, and then starts hitting you. But for the most part, when you say he outlands, most people should know that when he's outlanding his opponents, this is usually because he's already taken them down and gotten them into a position in which they can't. They either fight back by trying to get up and take the hits, or they sit there and take the hits. Both cases, this scenario is the same, where you take the hits.
But even also, like, I look at even Alec Winter fight, which we talk about. People talk about that's the worst Khabib ever looks. And in that fight, that fight, he pretty much outlanded Alec Winter even on the feet. Even in portions of the fight where he stood on the feet and did not go for a takedown, he was still beating Alec Winter.
I think sorry, not to cut you off. I just think that fight is so unique because that was on such short notice. 1 and 2, because he knew that he wasn't going to be taken down. He knew that his opponent wasn't going to take him down, which is interesting because you have that kind of everyone's like fearful of the takedown because he will take you down. That's the issue. He will. That's just it. If you're going to fight Khabib, he's going to take you down. Right. But what we saw with the Iaquinta fight is because both these guys were unprepared. I feel like Khabib wasn't ready to take him down. I mean, Khabib could grapple at any moment's notice, but I feel like he trained specifically to take people down, especially his opponent.
That was the game plan for all of his fights. Even now, I don't believe that Khabib didn't have a game plan. I think Khabib's game plan is everybody's game plan is to just strike the people just enough to get you back against the cage so he can dive in and put you against the cage and either go for a single leg and try to drive you down or use double underhooks at the bottom and try to take you down as well.
Yeah. It's a rough road, man, and having to fight Khabib. But back to that fight with Iaquinta and Khabib. What was interesting is that he did start outstriking him on the feet, but it was because you knew that Khabib at anyone would try to push you back and take you down or take you down in any way. So I think there was that slight hesitation until Iaquinta started getting looser and started throwing hands more and things like that.
Yeah, but even in that, like I pulled up the scorecard and the round for round strikes, and even in the portions where he stood up with them, which was round 3 to 4 for the most part.
Yeah,
it was Khabib. Khabib
no.
landed,
Well, I'm
37
not.
of 58 compared to Al Quinta's 7 to 36.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was Khabib was better because people are afraid to take him down. I'm not just saying that. I'm just saying
Yeah,
that it just seems like because you're so worried about the takedown or where it can come from, that like it's either you defend. I think some fighters have the mentality either you defend the takedown or
yeah,
you strike with him and then get taken. Like you know what I mean? Like there's always that fear of getting taken down or getting pushed back. I don't know, but Iaconta did really good in that fight. He barely. I mean, he got taken down, but he was able to get up, which
yes,
you don't see with a lot of people. I think
yes,
everyone tends to forget how good Al Iaconta is. Like just because he took a few years off and he got his real estate license and was doing all this other stuff outside of the octagon doesn't mean the man isn't talented. The man he was a wrestler. The man's still a wrestler. So
and for folks to know, this is important because I'm going to tie this in later on. But
mhm.
going back to Dustin Poirier, it just seemed like Dustin Poirier just couldn't get him off of him. I
No,
think there was a portion in the fight where he goes to his corner. He said, "I can't get this mother effer off of me."
yeah, yeah. I
It
believe it was.
was
Yeah, I heard that. I remember hearing that. I was like, damn,
yeah,
like how smothering must his top game wrestling game be for you to feel that way?
yeah.
It must be just light years. I don't
And
know.
I was very interested, and I'll text you this as well. It's like I'm surprised the game plan, and it's hard to stick to a game plan you're fighting to be, but I'm surprised it wasn't to move forward a lot.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he was waiting on the outside a lot, and then Khabib would dive in for a shot.
Well, what I've noticed about Dustin's style is that although Dustin does like to hang in the pocket with people and brawl sometimes,
Right,
his reach is a little bit longer than most people's. And if
right,
you take that into account, he can counter on the outside sometimes, or if he gets in, you'll see him step in, step out, and then start throwing 1-2s. Or Dustin usually fights southpaw, so that
right,
if he can, he'll land that straight left because he can cover that distance. So I
right.
think maybe you're right. I think the game he should have stuck to maybe moving forward on Khabib a lot more, but it's it happened. It happened the way it did. You can't change that. I don't think it was terrible, but I also think that the only way to beat Khabib is to kind of move forward on the man because the man just he pushes towards you to a point where you can't go back any further because of the
Yeah.
cage. I think the cage is his greatest weapon. His wrestling's amazing, but he knows how to put people against the cage.
The one thing about Khabib is the fact that we have seen him in times where he'll engage in a fight in a staying in the pocket and trading with you. He
Yeah,
did it with Al Quinta. He did it a little bit with Connor
he did.
to the point where I felt that was Dustin's chance to where if he pushed the pace and was aggressive like he was against, let's say, Justin Gaethje or Eddie Alvarez,
Hmm.
and just wearing them like that would have had a better impact than standing on the outside. And it almost like he was just trying to figure out how to move in real time against Khabib because he kept standing still, and then he would find himself near the cage, not totally his back against the cage, but near the cage, and Khabib would either strike or he'll shoot for a double leg and just get him against the cage,
Yeah, and
and
with
then
Khabib,
look for a takedown.
and exactly, the cage is where he wanted you to be because at the cage you can't slip out left because if you slip out left and you don't, if you slip out, I'm sorry, sideways to either side and you leave your back open, he's coming for your back. If you
Right,
slip out one other way, he's grabbing a single and turning it into a double, pushing you out, pulling you off the cage to get the takedown, so that way you're sitting on your butt but with your back to the cage, and that's how he begin. That's the position, the dominant position he likes to have most of his opponents in, because then he's able to either stop you from getting up by
right,
controlling your hands from mounting, not mounting, but building a foundation to spring up,
right.
or he gets you to the point where you're either not inside control, but it's you're on your side and he can literally just start walling on you or just start hitting you because he has enough space and base and from where he's like leaning on you and things like that. So I mean, it sounds like there's like most people can prevent, like most people can train for takedowns, but it just
Right.
this way this man gets it is just it's so simple yet so unique.
And it seemed like Dustin was preparing for the takedown. You seen him when Khabib would go for the a back clinch, or he would have him I don't think it was a double underhook he had him in,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
a bunch of time. And he would try to sweep, and it wouldn't
yeah,
work. Khabib just held on to him, and he just
yeah.
ended up on his back with Khabib top himself.
And that's the issue. I think Khabib knows how to, if there's going to be a grappling exchange, he knows how to end. in the dominant position, and I think that knowledge itself
Yeah.
allows him to carry and be able to get in any grappling exchange, but to be able to become, to end up as the dominant placement, and that's why he's so good at that. I think
Yeah.
that's why wrestling is so good, because there were moments where he was getting the double underhooks, bringing Khabib up like this, trying to hold on,
Yeah.
and I thought that was great cage work. He was using, he was on his back, but he's using that. But then Khabib, once that was done, Khabib would drive back for that double leg, or
Yeah.
as soon as Poirier would try to have the underhook on the left side, Khabib's in front of him. What would
Right.
happen is Khabib would sweep his legs from under him. So there's always a plan in place, because Khabib puts you in the position he wants you in. If you get what I'm saying, does that make any sense?
No, it
Like,
does, and he'll transition from, if he can't get the single leg, he'll transition to the double leg, and then he'll just move back and forth, and then he'll tie your feet together, and then if he can't strip you, he'll drive you the other way and try to get you down. There's so many
exactly.
ways he can take you down that it just complicated to deal with.
It's hard. It's hard. That boy must be solid. He must weigh. Khabib must weigh a pretty good amount of weight too, because he's grabbing these guys and holding on to them and using his weight to drive. It's just crazy. But they're all at 155. I just don't know, man. I don't know. Like his grappling.
And then you put into the fact that it was so hot in the arena,
Abu Dhabi.
that apparently it was over 100 inside the stadium itself. That that pressure that could be put on Dustin, and Dustin constantly having to try to he's trying to out wrestle Khabib, and Khabib would just not let him go, and it seemed like it just weared on Dustin more and more and more. And then even in the second round, he in the second round, when he actually clipped Khabib a little bit and started running after Khabib, it seemed like that even took some of his energy out. And you just see him.
You did see him kind of like, and you saw his midsection, like he was tired. The man was tired. But how could you not be if 100 and what is it? You weigh in at 155, and then you're allowed to gain 20% of your body weight back. So 155 divided into 5 is, drum roll please, somewhere around 15, 20 pounds. So you're gaining that weight back.
Right.
So that's you're not 155 in the match. You're probably around you're 170, and that's a solid weight.
It just, to me, like when he clipped Khabib, in my brain I'm like, oh, don't go
chase him.
Yeah, don't chase him. Don't chase him, because you're gonna find yourself back.
Yeah.
Getting taken down.
If you're running towards the guy, he's trying to go sideways, and you're tired. By the time he slips out, if you're not able to get him, then you turn. The position is now person coming towards you, and that was what we couldn't get that. And unfortunately, we did get that. I don't know. Again, great display of Khabib's wrestling. I think Khabib, arguably the greatest wrestler in UFC, because he's just so dominant. But the fight didn't end the way we wanted to, and that happens. I mean, there's two good fighters. One of them has to win. So
I want to credit Luke Thomas, who I listen to and I appreciate, and I have admiration for what he does. He brought the point of like an MMA grappler, and he may be the best MMA grappler we've ever seen in terms of, not just getting your back and submitting you, not just being able to take you down, but doing it, and not even just ground and pound, but to be able to combine all of that together into being the perfect MMA grappler. And
I mean,
Khabib, honestly, who else can you say is better than him at this point?
I don't know, man.
Do everything.
I mean, remember that moment Kevin Lee was talking about, I see holes in his game, man. I see holes in his game. I don't even know if Kevin Lee would be able to take him. There's few people I want to see fight Khabib, right? Because I'm scared of how Khabib may manhandle people because of what he did to Edson Barboza. But then two, it's because will people be ready for that? And there's the fighters that I want to see, obviously, are Tony. I want to see Cowboy. I want to see Gaethje. And then that's about it. I don't think there's anyone else I want to see. Gregor Gillespie, maybe Gregor. I would be interested in seeing Gregor, but I don't think that fight's ever going to come to fruition.
Let me ask you this before we go on to who's next for Khabib.
Yeah.
What do you think is next for Dustin? Because I've seen recently, as of this morning, that he even hinted at maybe retiring.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was a little upset to hear that because, I mean, I understand he isn't getting any younger, But he's accomplished so much in this sport. I mean, if he were to leave now, that's fine. But I think he's still a top contender for the lightweight 155 because he's a solid man. I mean, he's won the interim belt. He's beaten most of the people on the way up. I mean, all he has to do is refight those guys again. I mean, some things can have changed between now and then, but all he has to do is fight these guys again. Now, for Poirier, I truly think he shouldn't retire right away. I think it would be interesting if we saw him possibly hear me out here, maybe get like a commentary on UFC tonight. I would like to see. I would like to see what he has to say in terms of fighting and things like that. I think he'd bring an interesting flavor to the show. That's one. That's maybe.
Yeah,
That's hear me out here. Two, I think if we're talking about fighting still, the fight for me for Poirier, that's next. Have him run it back with Conor. Have him run it back. That would be a great way for Conor to get back into the picture. That would be a great way for Conor. Both of these guys came off a loss to Khabib. One of them obviously would want it better than the other. One of them wants to get back to. Both of them want to be in that title picture. But I'd say give Conor Poirier again. Have them run it back at 155.
My only thing with that fight is what would be. That makes sense. But for Conor, what would make that intriguing for Conor?
That's the issue. You got to. The only way to pique Conor's interest is money. But if Conor is as ready as to get back to fighting, he's not going to take any fight. Let me just say that Conor will not take any fight. Any fight's not going to get him a fight for the belt. Conor either wants the fight for the belt, or Conor would like to fight someone. The second option is to fight someone and then fight for the belt. That's the only two options here. There is no 2-3 fights and then and that's it. That's the thing about Conor. He's gonna want that fight to get him to the belt, or he's gonna want the belt as it is. So looking at who's not booked as of right now, or who's going to be fighting in the next month, obviously we know Tony's maybe the next line. Let's say that.
Maybe.
Cowboy and Gaethje are booked to fight each other. Now you have at the top positions, you have Iaconta, who doesn't have a fight, and Barboza, who doesn't have a fight, and then you have Paul Felder, who doesn't have a fight.
I thought Al has a fight.
Oh, sorry, Al is fighting Dan Hooker. So you don't have. I mean, who he would choose to fight? He may not fight Kevin. I don't think Conor's going to fight anyone who's not in the top 5, in my opinion.
No, and I think honestly, if we're being honest here, Conor can honestly. I can see Dustin Poirier fight. I can see it happening. It's just like after losing to Khabib the way he did, I don't see. It's hard. It's hard to say, hey, we'll give Conor the guy that Khabib just beat, and just handled. Honestly,
yeah. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so it's unless Dustin Poirier wins a fight and then that fight becomes more attractive. But as of right now, I don't see it happening.
What could be an interesting fight, and hear me out here, is if Poirier decides to fight a few months down the line. And, I mean, the only other person who is currently without a fight, probably because he just lost, would be Edson Barboza. If he wanted a fight, that's the only fight where let's just say everyone fights by the end of the year, right? That would be, in my opinion, that may just be the only fight to make, unless you want to have him fight the winner of Cowboy Cerrone and Justin Gaethje. I just don't know. I don't know how that works out.
I can see, I can see Dustin Poirier maybe. Who knows? Honestly, who knows what Dustin Poirier is at right now?
That's the hard part, because he's in this space. He's in this point where he could take another fight, but he doesn't have to.
Yeah, I think if he wants to continue on, he can definitely have some fights that can lead him back to it.
He could.
It's just gonna be a hard road to get back. And I don't know at this point in the stage of his career if that's something that he wants to do. And I think that's something he's gonna think about is just, I finally got my title fight. I finally became a champion, and now I'm back at the queue where there's contenders coming up, there's fights already lined up.
Yep.
Do I want to go back to Gaethje again? Do I have to fight Cowboy? Like, at some point, you got to really think about whether it's worth it.
Yeah, that's
where he's at.
Yeah, I think he's in a weird place. He's in a weird place, 100%. But yeah, I mean, one of my favorite fighters. I love playing with him again in UFC 3. His boxing is just out of this world. It is just, whew.
We got to work on. We got to someday work on getting a sponsor from
Hey man, listen. That's the third time I shouted out the game. You know, that's a good game, man. It's a good game.
We gotta work on getting the sponsor you. So
agreed.
You know, it's $4.99 by the way.
Yeah. Is it? I'm sorry. What'd you say?
$4.99.
$4.99. Oof.
Yeah.
Get it while you can. It's a good game.
Again, sponsor.
Yeah. Again. But no. What do you think is next? I mean, let's just start by saying this then. Who's next for Khabib? In your eyes?
It's hard, right? Because
it's not that hard.
No, it is hard. It is hard when you think of Dana White saying if Tony Ferguson still wants to fight, then he'll give it to Tony Ferguson. If not, it's Conor. So to me, it sounds like maybe they're leveraging Tony a little bit here in terms of wanting to get that fight.
Okay. Based on what happened. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. Could you finish your point? Sorry, because I did ask you.
No, so it seems to me they're leveraging Tony a little bit to see if he wants to fight, and I think Conor McGregor may sneak in there and get this fight. Something tells me they tried doing this fight at least 5 times by now. Something tells me that Conor may just sneak in there.
You know, Tyriece,
and I wouldn't be mad at it at all. That's
you know, Tyriece. Okay, tell me why. One.
No, go ahead. It's a cliffhanger. I'm going to tell you why later on.
You know, we've talked about this, and some of my predictions come true. A lot of your predictions come true.
Yeah.
So I'm not discrediting you. I won't say no. I'll leave the space open for that. I truly think Tony Ferguson is the next fight to make, and the reason as to why is because Khabib's already beaten Conor. That's just it. We're doing simply as a fan and as a fighter, like people on the fighters side of things. Tony Ferguson is the next guy to get that title shot. Now, when it comes to the business side of things, can they make that fight happen is a different story. I think that's what you're saying, right? You're saying it's basically that's like the backside of what you're saying, because we're talking about Conor, who's such a big name, who also tweeted, by the way, saying make the rematch in Moscow.
Yep.
He said make the rematch in Moscow. Now, either one, talks have been going around that Conor may be a fill-in in case Tony and Khabib doesn't happen again, or Conor might actually get the title rematch. And does he deserve it? Conor hasn't fought, so I won't say he doesn't deserve it. He's done a lot for MMA and a whole, but if we're talking strictly on a fighter's level, Conor hasn't fought in a while, so that's why I wouldn't give it to Conor. Tony is the next man. Tony is the next man, in my opinion, because that fight has been tried. They may try to make that fight 2 times now, and you just kind of wonder. The first time, I believe it was twice now.
No, it's been 5.
Hold on, let's it's been
at least 5 times to try to do it.
All right. How many times have they pulled out due to weight cutting issue or something happening? I thought it was only 2 to 3 times. I mean, I know they've tried.
Let me do mental math. So I believe Khabib weight issues twice.
That tiramisu, the big tiramisu was the one. Then we had Brooklyn where Tony tripped.
I think another one Tony pulled out.
Hold on,
I believe we're at 4 or 5.
Hold on, let me Google it. You finish talking about your point.
No, so here's my thing, right? So obviously it's either Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson should be the rightful person in this line. Yeah. However, the UFC has an option to go with Conor McGregor, and the reason why is not only that Conor McGregor is a star, which he is, but there's still promotion there. There's still promotion there. What they use even for this card.
Sorry to interrupt.
But
total of 4 times now.
Okay.
Total of 4 times.
So this will be the 5th time that they're trying to go for this fight again.
Yeah.
You know,
April,
which
April
is
2016, March 2017, April 2018, and December 2015.
Right. So this fight obviously should happen, right?
This fight should happen.
We should see Khabib versus Tony, but the UFC has an option to go with Conor as well, because you still have that promotion from the last fight. You still have Conor, that whole package of Khabib jumping into the crowd, that's being used even for this card as well. And honestly, I think Tony Ferguson and Conor McGregor have 2 of the best styles that could probably give Khabib problems.
Now, when you say 2 of the best styles, I think if Conor loses, I think he does come back better in a rematch. I will say that.
Yes.
as we saw with the Nate Diaz fight. And in the
Yes.
second fight, though, still a very close fight. And so he made the adjustments, but Nate Diaz is a beast, and so that was the
Yes.
thing.
At
And
welterweight.
at welterweight. So what's interesting? What's interesting, Tyreece, is that many people don't see if they were to get a rematch between Conor and Khabib. I think the interest is there because of what happened, and Conor can sell anything, right? Conor as himself can sell anything, but a lot of people who are MMA fans or who have seen the first fight will wonder whether or not the second fight will be the same, and so I feel like that may deter a lot of people as well.
Well, let me ask you this, Elijah. What makes Tony Ferguson a better fight than Conor?
Because the fight never
Stylistic
happened.
wise. No, stylistic
Stylistically,
wise. What if you're trying to promote
well,
Tony Ferguson to beat the guy to beat Khabib, what could Tony Ferguson do that other people can't do against Khabib?
I think you're right. You're right. This is a very good point because I do think out of the lightweight division, I think Tony has some of the best jiu-jitsu out there. I think
Right.
he has some of the best jiu-jitsu in UFC altogether. You have guys like Damian Maia, obviously, and of course, when Verdum was back in, he was one of the best jiu-jitsu people. But Tony Ferguson has not only some of the best jiu-jitsu and ground game, I think Tony's striking is a little it's non-conventional. I mean, it's not what you're used to. This guy incorporates elbows as if they're jabs. He incorporates elbows like Wing Chun method into his stand up. And the guy's kicking iron on Instagram. I know you've seen it before. The guy is kicking iron. And so it's a very interesting because it's unorthodox. And I believe Tony stands in he does stand in the orthodox thing, but he can switch just as good. He can go to the ground, and Tony won't. What's interesting is you don't see Tony doing a lot of takedowns, but that's because people who go against Tony are so worried about his jiu-jitsu. Now, you could say the same thing about Conor. His striking is a little unorthodox. He stands in southpaw. He does tend to have that wider. He does stand switch, but you do see him with a wider stance, as if he's a karate guy, and that's because he's either shooting that left hand down the middle, that left straight, or what Conor likes to do is do those teep kicks, where he's touching you with his his lead foot, or touching you with his back foot to soften up the midsection, and then he may end up doing a sidestepping kick or a right roundhouse or left roundhouse, depending on your position. So these guys offer two unique styles, but the thing is, we've already seen Conor fight Khabib. And that's just all I'm trying to say is that since we've seen it, many people may feel that the fight might not go a different way. But with Tony, because we haven't gotten that fight yet, because there is this ambiguity of what could happen. Don't get me wrong, Khabib is mauling all these great guys, right? But he hasn't fought Tony yet. I mean, there's a lot of stigma around Tony being the guy, but I mean, he hasn't fought a guy like Tony yet. A lot of these guys, I mean, don't have what Tony brings to the table, but Tony doesn't have what some of these other guys. But Tony is one of the more unique, and not to mention Tony's win streak is outrageous at the moment.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree that Tony Ferguson should be slot A in terms of who fights Khabib next. But I'm also saying, don't throw out Conor being in that mix either, because
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
Because if for whatever reason the Tony fight doesn't come together, let's say fifth time's not the charm at all.
Yeah.
Conor's right in there, and when you look at worthy opponents, Conor still fits that mold.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, to me, I think when you look at, what happens after you look at this Dustin Poirier fight,
yeah,
and what happened at Alex Quincy, the people that people have beaten in the past, the only guy to ever give Khabib any sorts of problems in a fight has been Conor. And I texted you this last night. I said, after watching Dustin Poirier versus Khabib, you have to give a little more respect to Conor for what he did in the fight against Khabib, because Khabib took him down constantly. Did the same thing he did to Dustin. Conor didn't fight it too much. He got on the ground and just tried to survive.
I think you're right. I think he did survive pretty well. You're right.
Hold on. And then in round 3, he got Khabib to round 3, which is pretty much, and this Poirier fight was round 2, but in round 3, and I think the Alex Quincy fight was round 3 as well, where Khabib just didn't go for the takedown. He would try to strike with him a little bit. Conor was handling him in the third round. In fact, Conor outstruck Khabib in the third round and actually won that round. That's the only round Khabib has ever lost against an opponent, is against Conor. That was the one blemish on Khabib's perfect win streak, is the only time we've seen a little bit of difficulty was the round 3 against Conor.
But if I'm not mistaken, he took him down in all 3 rounds, correct?
No.
He didn't take him down in round 3?
No, and that was the interesting part.
Right.
Khabib also shot for a takedown in round 3, missed him. Couldn't lock the takedown. And in fact, Conor stuffed all 3 takedowns.
Yeah.
Which to me is interesting to the point where Conor's style and Tony has the same similar style where it's unorthodox.
Yeah.
But Conor's style can I think offset Khabib. And if Conor can withstand the first 2 rounds with Khabib, and his cardio is able to withstand a round 3 to 5, I think we see a different issue. Which honestly, again, goes back to Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, a rightful choice where, Tony Ferguson doesn't get tired at all.
It's okay. Let me just go ahead and say this. I see your point.
Yes.
I'll raise you this. My only. I mean, it's not like as if we're arguing, but my only thing is, again, you have these people who will say they fought already, and will it be much different? Conor has proven that he can come back in the second fight better than he comes in the first. Right?
And if he's injured, if he was injured like he says he is,
if he was, right?
Maybe there's a difference. Maybe. See, I'm just thinking promotional wise. If I'm thinking Conor had an injury, I could sell that maybe he was hurt in the fight. There's a long layoff.
I don't think UFC. I don't think
it's gonna be a layoff now.
I will say this: UFC won't say that Conor was hurt, but they will play back. That. No. Listen, they will play back the audio of after the fight when Conor said, "I was injured," and talk about his leg. Now, I guarantee you that would be the promo and a couple other things in there too. That might not be the initial part, but that might be in the promo. Now. Right. Again, I agree with you. I think Conor could be back in the mix. I don't. It's not that I don't see that. I just would rather have Tony. But if you have Conor fight, it's going to be such a I don't know. It's going to be. I'm interested to see if that actually comes to fruition because I think that'll happen because the Tony and Khabib fight can't happen. I see it as that way, not as opposed to I only see it as if there's a contract issue or if someone can't miss weight and someone gets injured, then Conor steps in. I only see it that way. But I guess if you're saying that Conor's going to be picked over Khabib, if Conor's going to be picked over Tony, I just have a hard time believing that one. But I don't think it's impossible. I truly do not. I truly don't think it's impossible.
Well, if Khabib only has a certain amount of fights left in him, and he has plans to retire, I think he said maybe 3 or 4 fights or whatever when he puts on a new deal. Is now not the best time to do Conor fight? If you can't get Tony Ferguson to come to the table, whether it's he wants to get money that he should have made in terms of him being a former champion.
Yeah, that's not a bad point.
And never lost the title at that. She was stripped from the title and came back that same year, and he's not being paid the way he should be paid. That could be an issue. Contract could be an issue.
That's what I'm saying. The only way this I think Conor jumps Tony is if there's a contractual issue, or if one of the people gets in, Khabib or Tony gets injured, or someone can't make weight, Conor's a step in. That's the only way.
Or if for whatever reason, just me thinking of what Dana White said, if Tony Ferguson wants to fight, if not, it goes to Conor.
I feel like
to me it just screams. We're also thinking about getting the Conor fight.
Yeah, that's true. I just. Coming from what he said, sorry, there's my mom's putting a little water in thing. Coming from what happened, I just see Tony getting the title. But I mean, anything's possible. Anything's possible in MMA. We know that.
Let me ask you this: who has a better chance of beating Khabib? So, Tony or Conor?
Brother.
I'm so sorry, Elijah.
Tony.
I would say Tony, but it's not by a huge margin.
I don't think. Yeah, exactly. That's as an MMA fan, I can't say Tony by 100%. I say Tony, but I also say Conor has a good job.
And my reason for the Tony thing is I looked at just thinking about Tony and Kevin Lee and how that fight went, and I would say Kevin Lee is the closest somebody has fought that Tony has fought that's maybe Khabib a little bit in a way where it's purely grappling. You may strike with you a little bit. It's fully,
that first round was indicative of what happened. He took him down, mounted, and then finished the round that way. But then Tony came back on a vengeance in the second.
No, He did, but it wasn't as impressive like he. Like
it wasn't like he went out there, touched them 4 times, and finished them. But what he did, Tony was like, all right. I feel like Tony was like, let's see what this guy can do. He saw, and then he was like, all right, let's make some adjustments and push harder in the second round because I don't think this guy can keep up with me. Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah, it was a little staticky there.
Yeah.
But even just looking at Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson fight, to me, when you watch that fight back, Tony Ferguson was concerned about the takedowns, which led to him not being able to strike as much as he likes to, and as much as you used to seeing him as, where he throws a large output. In the fight against Kevin Lee, he wasn't really throwing that large output.
No.
Granted, when it got to taking down Tony Ferguson, it wasn't like it was met with defiance.
No,
he was able to take Tony Ferguson down.
Tony welcomed the takedown. Almost.
He welcomed it, but it hurt him as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's because I think that's where the confidence can come into, like, because he's so good on the ground. You know,
right.
he can do a lot of things, but because you're letting takedowns like that, and let's say you don't get off any defense, and let's just say the guy is holding you for about 5 rounds, or like just getting in positions where he can hit you and you can hit, or you're doing hits as well from the bottom. No matter what, in the judge's eye, the person who took you down and was able to maintain that position is winning the round, whether or not you're able to get off strikes and do things on the bottom. Now, sometimes they can see the difference, and sometimes judges can know the difference, but it's not always the case. And so that's where I think you're right. The takedown did hurt him in the first round because Kevin Lee was able to mount him. Kevin Lee was able to mount him.
And I think people saying the jiu-jitsu of Tony Ferguson is key. I don't think so. I think Tony Ferguson being able to use sweeps and stuff off his back is key.
I think Tony Ferguson as a whole is a key. And I think because it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle. It's like when this isn't working, or when this is working, we can also use this, but we're using this. Like he doesn't. I don't know.
I'm not sure who have a plan A or plan B against Khabib. Not everybody who seen Khabib face hasn't shown plan B. It's been a plan A, and then as when you get taken down, it's like, what can you do next? Tony Ferguson's plan A would probably be if Khabib takes me down. No, plan B would probably be if Khabib takes me down, I'll give my jiu-jitsu. If that doesn't work, what can Tony Ferguson do?
The thing is, I think I don't think Tony just uses the jiu-jitsu alone, It's not going to be using jiu-jitsu to get up. The thing about Tony's jiu-jitsu is that he uses it to strike even while he's on his back. And I think that was the more effective parts of being in the fight with Kevin Lee, is the fact that he was able to land those elbows from the bottom and then eventually secure that triangle. So when I do say, apologize for me not mentioning, going in depth, but when I talk about Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu, I'm also mentioning in the fight how he possibly mixes it up with his striking while even on his back, or trying to look for those trips and things like that too. Because not only do we have that, we also have Tony sometimes using a clinch. Yeah. We have sometimes Tony using the elbows and the knees. So that's just that's what he does. So when I say that he has, I'm not saying to Khabib's wrestling, Tony's jiu-jitsu is the answer. I'm not saying that. Because they're 2 different types of grapplings. However, it's how Tony is able to use his jiu-jitsu to effectively land and to counteract Khabib's wrestling.
I agree.
And when it comes to striking, I don't know if Khabib could probably be, he could be a Muhammad Ali possibly, but that's not what his game plan is. Yeah, I know. I took it a little too far. I took it a little too far with that.
You did.
I took it a little too far with that.
You did.
But what I'm trying to say is we don't get to see the striking all the time. We do get he has good defense, but we don't get to see offensively what he's capable of because that's just not the game plan. And so I think that a good game plan for Tony would be to use his jiu-jitsu to to kind of nullify and throw in some strikes with it. And that's it. I think that's if he gets taken down, that's what happens. You're right. A lot of people get taken down. It's like, damn, I got taken down. So what's plan B? I think what Tony does is Tony will say, well, I got taken down. This is what I've expected. How do I now? He said, how do I get him to get the positions that I want him in? And I think that's what Tony's very effective at.
I don't know. Just looking at this Dustin Poirier fight, I favor Khabib in that fight as well now.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. That is fair. I don't listen, man. 28-0. How are you?
He's the best MMA grappler of all time.
Best. I mean, the only person who I could say would have given him a run for his money was Randy Couture. but I mean, it's a different era.
Yes,
It's a different era. Even Randy, Randy, I just don't know. Even Randy was top of the top when it came to wrestling. All right, let me take back that Muhammad Ali statement
yes.
that should never been said, but want that redacted.
Yes, I think the only thing about Randy concerning Khabib he can change it up in transition to either go for the single leg, go to the double leg. There's so many ways he does it to where he may be the best MMA grappler of all time, and he's on track to be an all-time career at this point. He's 28-0. I don't really see a lot of fights at lightweight that really interests him. He may retire in the next three or four fights.
I say within the next 3 to 4 years, we may not see. After 3 to 4 years, we may not see Khabib fight again. Just in reality,
maybe even 2.
You think it's possible?
Maybe even 2, but honestly,
possible.
Yeah, I really don't see anybody in the lightweight division that could give him a problem. Maybe there may be, you said, Justin Gaethje, maybe, even Conor McGregor, maybe Tony Ferguson, maybe.
These are all. That's the interesting part is that when you put these guys against Khabib, it's all maybes.
But against them all, he'll be a favorite. That's the thing.
Crazy. That's crazy.
He'll be a favorite against all of them. But,
agreed.
Yeah, man. Okay, so Khabib wins rear naked choke. He's probably gonna face Tony Ferguson, if not Conor McGregor next year. I think. It would have been great to get him on that Massacre Garden card. I'll say that, but
I mean, we got a good fight, but did we get the fight we wanted? That's the thing. We got a good
yes
fight.
and no. Yes and no.
We got a good fight. I mean, as fight fans, Nate Diaz, versus Jorge Masvidal is going to be good. It's just going to be good. I don't think it'll be the worst case scenario. This is someone wins by unanimous decision and it's good. You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, cool. This is going to be a good fight. That's just it. That's just the sentence ends there. This is going to be a good fight. Now, is it the title fight we wanted?
No, and it's not like it's a fight that means. So it means something in terms of who's better, but in terms of moving the sport forward, it doesn't really
do much.
Nothing changes really. It's not like a divisional change or anything like that. Really.
Now, I mean, if Diaz wins, it puts him in a better spot. But if Jorge wins, I feel like he kind of just he beats a big name in reality, right? And he has the more star power to him, so he can obviously ask for a better fight next time. But does it ensure that he gets the title? That's the issue.
And it doesn't like we're making makeup belts to satisfy a main event, and it's just something about how that fight came together and what the title is a title fight, but it's not a title to be defended ever again. It's a one-off belt.
Yeah.
I'll watch it. I'm gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be great.
Listen,
but it's not gonna. It's not. Yeah.
We're gonna be there.
But it's not like it's not historic. It's not historic to me.
No, I mean it. Will it have gone down in history as possibly one of the best fights? Yeah,
maybe. But
again, what the point you said in the beginning of what you were saying was, does it move the division?
And I appreciate legacy. I appreciate things like a title, like a UFC belt being defended or being won. It's just I don't know. But anyway, moving on. Paul Felder beats Edson Barboza by split decision. I did not have Paul Felder win that fight.
I didn't get to see that fight. I came in the last 3 minutes of the fifth round. The third round, and it seemed like Felder was landing more in the third round. But from what I was hearing from the commentary, they said Felder picked it up in the third round, but the first round he was losing. He lost pretty decisively, not a 10-8, and then the second round went to, apparently it sounded like Barboza was getting the better exchanges, and he landed a takedown.
Right.
I was like, wait, what? I'm sorry. I had to go back and look at the highlights and things like that. I was like, whoa, he really did land a takedown. Yeah. I was very surprised.
So here's my thing. So let me paint a picture for you, right? So Edson Barboza, I'll tell you the strikes per round, and you tell me what you think off your head, right? In normal circumstances, this would be who would win. right? So Edson Barboza first round, 24 out of 54. Paul Felder, 16 of 54. Right, that's round one. Round two, 37 of 52 for Edson Barboza, 31 of 57 for Paul Felder.
That's close.
Round three, 16 of 27 for Edson Barboza, 28 of 63 for Paul Felder.
Wait, what was Barboza's in the third round?
Third round was 16 of 27.
I mean, in terms of
significant strikes, Edson Barboza 24 of 54, Paul Felder 13 of 51, right?
Yeah.
Round two, 21 of 34 for Edson Barboza, 20 to 46 for Paul Felder. Significant strikes, right? So they're close in terms of significant strikes in the second round.
They're close in terms of striking altogether in that second. That second round must have been really like back and forth from what it sounds like.
Right, and I'll go even more in depth with the second round. And in the third round, Edson Barboza 15 to 28, Paul Felder 23 of 57. So going off the strikes, and then I'll tell you this as well. Paul Felder was pressing forward throughout the fight. However, he was still eating shots. He was still moving forward. He was eating shots. Edson Barboza in the second round, as close as it was, Edson Barboza landed a takedown, which could count it.
Question.
Yeah.
Now, this takedown, was it a takedown where Felder got up immediately, or was this a takedown where he shot a double? Like how did he take him down?
I believe it was a clinch, and then he took him down.
He tripped him. Did he keep position for a while and like land strike?
It was towards the end of the round.
But did anything happen?
As the round is ending, he let the takedown. Yes.
Yeah, got it.
You know what I'm saying? Like that still counts.
Yeah.
That still counts. And I feel like that won on the round.
Now, what recent fight did you know where that happened? Where we had this guy, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. We had two middleweight, I'll give you the hint. Two middleweights who fought, 3-round fight. And the second round, one of them landed a takedown, which we thought secured him that round. Or at least I thought secured him that round. But eventually he lost the fight because the striking in the second round was very close. But the takedown should have secured you that round over over the other person. Do you remember this fight? It's very recent. 185ers.
I don't actually. Please tell me.
Paulo Costa versus what's his name?
Romero?
Paulo Costa versus Yoel Romero.
Oh,
remember in that second round. So this gives me a question. So does a takedown towards the end of does a takedown without any position secured count? Right. Or does a takedown does a takedown at the end of the round, does that really count if you're not able to do anything with it? Like only because you've ran out of time, you know? So that's
in any normal circumstance, it does count.
Yeah, but it didn't in the second because a lot of people had Yoel Romero losing the second round, even though the striking was very close in numbers, and he had landed the takedown at the end of the round. So that's the interesting part. I'm making an observation. I'm not saying anything's the same, obviously, but I'm noticing that about UFC. Sometimes when we have these late takedowns, and if there's no position secure, like maybe full guard, maybe side control, maybe half guard, maybe some type of position, it seems as if. And just in this scenario where there's not, it's the end of the round. We're talking like seconds before it finishes, right? It doesn't seem to be as significant as on the judge's eye as we think it is. This is the second time this has happened and that I've seen. I could be wrong, but I'm curious about this in general. I'm curious.
Yeah, I think you have a point there, but to me, Edson Barboza won the second round. Yeah. Even though it was a close round, I thought Edson Barboza edged it out. And hold on. Also, shout out to the person that's watching this live. I appreciate you. You can leave a comment on the section below in the YouTube page. And we appreciate you. And please subscribe and share, and hope to hear more from you.
Once again, I apologize for that Muhammad Ali statement. That's
I know you almost revoked your MMA credentials there, but
I know. Yeah. You know what I meant, though. You know what I meant. I just meant like we.
No,
we
I didn't.
Know.
No, I didn't know.
Don't be a jerk. Continue the point.
But and to me, I think Paul Felder looked great. I think Paul Felder, showed he belongs in that contender conversation.
Yep.
To me, I thought Edson Barboza won the fight, and I think, the judges were horrible.
Well,
in terms of the first
yeah,
round, which was all Edson Barboza,
yeah.
that's Paul Felder. One just gave him 30-27 for that round. And then one judge gave Edson Barboza, who lost the third round, to Edson Barboza. So Paul Felder won the first round, and then Edson Barboza won the third round.
What's interesting is that I mean, because I wonder how Dana sees this fight, or Sean Shelby, or whoever's matchmaking with Sean Shelby and them. Because now at this point, you got to wonder, wow, like Edson, this is his third. He beat Dan Hooker, right?
Yes.
And this is his first loss since Dan Hooker, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
This is his first loss, so you kind of wonder who he gets matched up next with. Will it be a top 7 guy, or will it be someone beyond, like in like the top, between the top 15, top 10, and top 15? It's the interesting part, because he has these setbacks, and like you said, you thought he won, and he probably did. Most people probably did score that for Edson. Some people probably saw it for Felder. It seemed, from what it seemed like, from the commentary alone that I came into, they made it seem as if this fight was incredibly close. They said
it was.
Yeah,
it was. So, I just thought Edson both no.
Yeah, that's fair.
I thought he won round 1 and 2, and then Felder won round 3. But overall, I thought Edson Barboza won the fight.
I'm gonna have to watch that fight.
It's a great fight. Probably one of the best fights of yesterday. In terms of UFC and Bellator, I thought it was the best fight all day yesterday.
I'm gonna have to watch that fight to really get the full perspective.
Edson Barboza was throwing leg kicks, and in the first round, he was throwing body kicks. Paul Felder was checking the kicks we don't really see people do. He was actually checking the leg kicks, and Paul Felder has a chin. He stood with Edson Barboza. It was a great fight.
Paul Felder, he's a tough guy. Well, do I see him fighting for the title? That remains to be seen. But he's a tough dude. He fought. Yeah. He went up at 170, and he fought Mike Perry.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy fight. Mike Perry throw hands made of bricks.
So, I don't know where Paul Felder goes. I had Edson Barboza win the fight again. Good for Paul Felder though. Don't know where Edson Barboza goes. He took a lot of damage in his career as of recently.
He probably recoups after this for a while, and then we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, and with Paul Felder, he even said he don't really need to do this. If he don't get a person worthwhile, then he'll
go back to his announcing, which is not it's not a bad thing. I don't know, not the worst.
So, but it was a good fight. I recommend you watching. I recommend anybody that didn't watch the fight to watch the fight. And
check it out.
Good for Paul Felder. What other fight was on there? Islam Makhachev versus.
Is it Davi Ramos?
Yeah, that fight was pretty much a wash. Islam Makhachev pretty much
dominated.
Dominated, yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. I thought what's his name?
Who?
Islam. Who he fought? I can't think of his name.
Islam Makhachev fought Davi Ramos.
Yes, Davi Ramos. I would have thought Davi Ramos would have took it to the ground and tried to use his jiu-jitsu.
He still with him?
Yes, still with him the whole entire time.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised by. I think he tried to go for a takedown once. But other than that, he pretty much just stood with him. But Islam Makhachev is legit. He moves on. Not really else to say there. I mean, he pretty much handled him.
That's fair. You know who I was very surprised? I remember we were talking a while ago. Remember Carlos Diego Ferreira? He was on this card, and he, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he win?
Yes, he did.
He beat. Let's just go back to the guy.
He beat after here.
And I was very interested. I was very surprised about that. I was very, 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 very surprised about that because
Tyson.
Tyson, because Tyson was touted as a really, he was one of the bigger people who was supposed to be on this card too in terms of trying to raise to the next level. So that's interesting. Marbek, Tyson, it's very interesting. Diego Ferreira, I believe, I don't know how the fight went because I also missed that because I had class, but I got to watch that fight too. I gotta watch that fight. I gotta see how that went.
Yeah, I'll tell you how it went. Diego Ferreira pretty much. again, the fight. Here's the thing: the main event and the co-main event were great. It was great. It's worthwhile. It's worth noting. It's worth talking about.
Uh-huh.
The last three fights, other than the main event and the co-main event, it's
Yeah.
Islam Makhachev wins. He beats Davi Ramos. He's legit, but it was pretty dominant. We'll see what Islam Makhachev does next. Curtis Blades defeated Shamil. I am not going to pronounce his last name.
Abdul Rakhimov.
There you go. He pretty much took him down and handled him.
Yeah.
So I don't know where Curtis Blades go from here.
I will say this: the one thing I did catch was the highlight of Ataman Azaitar versus Timu Pakalin. I mean, if there's anything to praise besides Khabib's wrestling, Poirier's heart, the fight that happened, before that, Paul Felder versus Edson Barboza and Diego Ferreira come from, being a good fighter, was that this knockout was crazy. I did see this, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Right.
I was impressed.
Yeah, it was good. This fight card, it's not gonna go down as the most memorable fight card.
No, not at all.
But there's some talents on there. Diego Ferreira. Islam Makhachev.
You're right. We have some talent, and I think that was the purpose. They were highlighting fighters, I guess, who have Middle Eastern origins, and that's half the card.
Yeah,
it's half the card. So I think again, UFC did another purposeful event. Again, I have no qualms with this card. Could there have been a little bit more known people in the rankings? Sure, but I think it's coming to the end of the year, and if they need names to fill cards, although this would have been a card they should have filled names with, they didn't. And so I can understand why they didn't, but these next few months better bring some names on the cards. But again,
I think they will. Next week's card, you got Justin Gaethje versus Cowboy. You got, Glover Teixeira's fighting on the card. You got who else? You got some names on that ESPN Plus card.
Cowboy is one of my favorite fighters. That man's good.
Yeah, you went in and out on that your mic.
Can you hear me? I'll repeat it.
You know.
Cowboy Cerrone is one of the greatest fighters in UFC. It's biased.
Is he Muhammad Ali like?
No. Let me tell you, his striking is that's where we have highlights of his striking in UFC. We don't have highlight of Khabib's, and so I want to take that back. That was very disrespectful. Shouldn't have said that. I was just trying to prove a point that we don't really know whether or not Khabib's striking could be the greatest it could be. That was the point I was trying to get. But I was circling the drain, and I didn't go down the drain. So sidetrack.
I almost ended this whole broadcast because of that bullshit.
Relax, okay? Come on. I apologize twice. Third time's the charm. I do apologize. Yeah. Anywho, but I think it was for what it's worth, not a bad card. I think this is the point you were trying to bring up earlier, though, is if whether or not you would buy the card or not.
You don't gotta speak into the mic.
Yeah, well, can you hear me now? You told me it was in and out. And
no, but just holding it close to your ears. I heard you.
Where's the habit? A lot of the question sometimes comes to, I'm interested to see how UFC stacks cards for next year, because that'll determine whether or not, I think when we have a lot of names, that determines whether or not we buy a card or not. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of people, do you think this pay-per-view itself will have done a lot of, I think it'll do a lot of views, obviously, but because, they fought internationally, you have a whole bunch of fans overseas, things like that. But if you think this was in the States, do you think it would have done as many buys?
Well, buys means, right?
Yeah.
So, even if it's international, the buys still count. So
they do.
I don't know if it does a lot of buys because it's behind a paywall, and then it's during the day, and again, but one of the things about it is you can watch the fight anytime. So I don't know. I think there's very many variables to where I wonder how they count pay-per-view buys, where you don't have to buy it that same day. You could buy it at the same time. You can buy it and watch it.
I think later on. Yeah, I feel like there may be a formula to it, but I feel like when they consistently talk about buys, we don't see that information right away.
Right.
We never see that information right, because I think they have to gather how many buys they have, right? And
yes.
sometimes Dana, I think what Dana does, I think he talks about the buys before the event or during the event, and then I think he stops it when he stops looking for the numbers after the event, or maybe a couple moments after the event, so that way you can have the replay. But remember, the replay isn't available right away. So I think once the event's done and they can kind of tally in how many things were bought before the event ended, I feel like that's probably how they adjust, like how they get a good number of how many buys there was. But I guess the point I'm trying to bring up is because it's international, I think it did a lot better than it would have done if it were in the States alone. You know what I mean? If this was just a fight that was here in the U.S. as opposed to an international fight, that's the point.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Do you think it does blockbuster numbers? Maybe. Khabib's a big name. Khabib's a big name, and I think they promoted kind of well on social media. I don't really see a lot of promotion, on ESPN or whatnot.
And that's the thing. You did. I didn't know. Like I don't play video games as much as I used to. So now I'm like starting to watch a little bit more TV in general, or just have it on the background. And I'll watch ESPN, but I wasn't seeing a lot of commercials for it. And sometimes with these bigger fights, even with Conor and Khabib, you saw commercials on channels that non sports related channels. But for this, you didn't see that.
Yeah. Sorry, Elijah. Again, we're doing this during Super Bowl. I mean, no, not Super Bowl, football. And I've just seen the Browns lost by 30.
How many games are left for the day?
A couple more.
All right, so let's we'll do our thing, and then we'll let you go, Tyriece. I know football's near and dear to your heart. Not me. I'm 5'9". I'm 5'9" and 155 pounds. I'm not playing that shit.
Well, I have two damn shows now. I have this show and I have a football show now. So
could you say that one more time? Can you say that one more time for the people in the back? They need to hear how many shows you got.
Well, I got two shows now. I got this show, MMA Renegade, and I also have Play Action with me and Sergio.
There you go. How many shows, Tyriece? I heard 2, but I could be wrong.
Listen, I see you trying to suck up to people after that Muhammad Ali comment, but I'm still not gonna forgive you for that. So, let's wrap this up by talking a little bit about Bellator. Did you see the main event?
No. However, my brother, who is now an avid MMA fan after converting him, has sent me what appears to be some type of altercation that happened between Rampage and Ryan Bader.
Yes.
Please explain how that happened between the heavyweight fight between Chet Congo and Ryan Bader. Please elaborate, because I'm confused. I didn't know what happened.
Well, here's the deal, right? So I stayed up and watched the Bellator card. We'll talk about this later. About as it goes on, this featherweight grand tournament that they have is going to be phenomenal. I think it's a great job. And Cyborg even showed up at the event as well. And awesome. Julia Budd is going to fight Cyborg in our debut fight, which is going to be great. So that's a couple of notes there. But speaking just solely on the main event, Ryan Bader defended his title against Chet Congo, and it was a weird stoppage to where he has Chet Congo on the ground. He's handling Chet Congo the whole entire time, and he had Chet Congo on the ground with his feet tied up. And he was going for uppercuts, and as he's doing it, he's putting his hands in the eyes of Chet Congo, and they stopped the fight. And it was I think it was a doctor stoppage.
Yeah, my brother sent me 2 things, and it looked like he sent me like an up close video of what was going on, and it looked like he had his fingers in his nose, not his eyes.
No, it was his eyes.
Oh, so okay. I just want to make sure.
It was his eyes. It was his eyes. Yeah. He had his hand in the eyeball.
Like we were like this, or it was just like over it.
No, it was like that. Yeah, he's trying to hold him and do the uppercut from the bottom, and he just got into his eyes, and they stopped the fight, and it's no contest. And then I turned it off, and then I learned that Rampage came into the cage and they had a big brawl, and that seems to be a fight that's setting up in the future. And listen, my only takeaway from this is I would have loved to see Ryan Bader in the UFC heavyweight. That was my only takeaway from that fight was what Ryan Bader can do at heavyweight in the UFC.
Now, if you bring Ryan Bader to the UFC's heavyweight division, it changes the game. I'd be interested. I'd be a little more interested, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong. We have some great fights that are coming up in terms of the heavyweight and pushing it forward. But I like when it sucks because when UFC does is they sometimes take other organizations' champs and then put them in the mix of theirs, and then they kind of see how they do. Sometimes they win off, sometimes they fail. Perfect example. This happened with Eddie Alvarez from Bellator. Happened with Justin Gaethje from World Series of Fighting. So it's like, and it happened with, if I'm not mistaken, who's the middleweight? David Branch. Happened with David Branch. He was a champ. He was one of the first champs. If you be honest with you, the man had the middleweight belt and he had the 205 belt. So and World Series of Fighting. So I like when they do that. It sucks for the other organizations because they do get to miss out on a lot of promotion things like that. But I would be interested if Ryan Bader came to the heavyweight division of UFC. I would 100% be interested to see how that happens, like what he'd be able to do. I think he'd be a great fighter back in UFC.
I think so too. All right, man. I think that pretty much covers everything. Well, this is our new time now. So from now on, we will go live at 3:00 every Sunday. Not 1:30, not 11:30, not 12 o'clock.
We may be able
Sunday.
to move it because some days may differ. We don't know. We have other things to do, but it's mostly 3:00. It's
mostly 3:00. All right, man. Any final notes? Anything you want to say?
We're going to the UFC Madison Square Garden. Yay! Finally got a main event. So
yes, and we got to talk about that off air. We got to figure out how to get those tickets because Nick Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal. That's going to be a big fight.
Look at me,
a big deal, and we got to plan it. We got to plan it.
Agreed. We do have to plan it, but we'll be there. We'll be there. Good seats. We had good seats last time. Couldn't hurt to get good seats again.
Hopefully, we will. All right, man. Signing off. This is MMA Renegade. My name is Tyriece Simon.
I'm Elijah Jones.
And we are out. Goodbye, everybody.
Later.